Okay, so let's unpack this. I want to start with a bit of a mental exercise. If I say Athens, Greece, what is the immediate JPEG that loads in your brain? You're probably seeing the Acropolis, right?
Oh, yeah. The Parthenon glowing at sunset, maybe
Oh.
some ancient marble
A
columns.
little olive oil on a table.
Right. It's the classic postcard image.
Yeah.
History, civilization, the whole thing.
Exactly. But here is where it gets really interesting for anyone who has, actually walked those streets. If you look down away from the marble and the ruins, you realize there is a second living population that defines the city just as much as the architecture.
Yeah.
We are talking about the cats.
Oh, absolutely. If you've visited, you know. You can't walk 10 feet without seeing one. They're draped over the ruins or weaving through chair legs at the tavernas.
Sleeping on the hoods of cars.
Mm-hmm. And for a tourist, it's almost part of the aesthetic. It feels very romantic.
That's the word. Romantic. It's Instagrammable. But today, we're doing a deep dive into an organization called Let's Be Smart, or LBS. And the work they're doing is effectively shattering that romantic filter.
Yeah.
Because when you strip away the picturesque backdrop, the reality for these animals is just brutal.
It's massive disconnect. We see a cat sleeping on a warm stone and think, what a life. But the data paints a picture of what can only be described as a battle for survival.
Right.
We aren't talking about house cats that get to roam a bit. These are homeless animals in a really dense, chaotic city.
And the phrase that jumped out at me from the research was unfortunate souls.
Yeah.
That does not sound like a charmed life.
Right.
You're looking at a daily existence defined by hardship, starvation, untreated disease, and constant danger.
It's the constant danger that really wears them down. I mean, think about the environment. Athens isn't a quiet village. It's a bustling city with aggressive traffic. These cats are dodging cars, they are competing for scarce food sources, and they are dealing with ferocious attackers.
That could mean other territorial animals, loose dogs, or, unfortunately, human cruelty.
And that biological toll, it shows up in the numbers. There is one statistic here that honestly floored me. It completely reframes every photo I've ever seen of a Greek street cat.
You're talking about the life expectancy.
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
It's a devastating number. To put that in perspective for everyone listening, a well-cared-for indoor cat can live to be, 18, maybe 20 years old?
Easily.
2 years means they are barely out of kittenhood before they die. They are dying just as they reach adulthood.
That's not old age. That's trauma. That's infection.
Exactly. It implies that the vast majority of this population is being wiped out by preventable causes before they ever really get to live. It's a churn. One generation dies off rapidly and another replaces it, so the visual population stays high while the individuals are suffering and dying very young. So that is the mission field. You have this beautiful city masking a humanitarian, or I guess an animalitarian crisis. And that is where Let's Be Smart steps in. They aren't just putting out bowls of kibble. They have built this multi-pillar approach to try and fix a broken system.
And that system is what makes this deep dive so fascinating. They're combining veterinary triage, sanctuary infrastructure, international volunteering, and this is the part I love.
Tourism.
Tourism, yeah. They are turning the tourism industry into a rescue mechanism.
Before we get to the solution, though, I want to zoom in on the problem a bit more. We talked about hardship, but that's an abstract word.
Right.
The research introduces us to a cat named Latte, and her story is, well, it's a lot. But I think it's necessary to understand what medical need actually looks like on the street.
Latte is the case study that proves why you can't, just leave nature to take its course in a city. When LBS found her, she wasn't just hungry, she had a severe eye infection. Now, in a domestic setting, if your cat gets a weeping eye, you get some antibiotic drops, and it's gone in a week.
All right, it's a minor inconvenience.
On the street, with no immune support and poor nutrition, that infection just festers. In Latte's case, the infection was so advanced and the tissue damage was so catastrophic that the vets had no choice. They had to perform a double enucleation.
They removed both her eyes.
Both of them. To save her life, they had to take her sight.
That hits hard. And the source notes this is a very common occurrence.
Yeah.
So we aren't talking about a freak accident.
No, not at all. We are talking about common infections, maybe feline herpes virus or calicivirus, that are allowed to run rampant until they literally destroy the organ.
That's the reality of 2 years. It's not peacefully falling asleep in the sun.
No, it's succumbing to things that are painful and treatable. Latte's story is a win because she survived, but it illustrates that the first line of defense for LBS has to be medical. You have to stop the physical suffering before you can do anything else.
But this brings up the scale issue. You can save lattes. You can save 10 lattes. But Athens has thousands of strays. If you just keep pulling sick cats off the street, you're emptying the ocean with a teaspoon.
Precisely. Rescue without population control is a losing battle. It's simple math. A single unspayed female and her offspring can produce thousands of kittens in just a few years.
Wow.
That is why LBS, and really any modern animal welfare group, relies so heavily on TNR.
Trap, neuter, release.
Correct. But I think people misunderstand TNR. They think it's just about keeping the numbers down so there are fewer cats. And that is true. The goal is smaller colonies. But the research emphasizes that TNR keeps the colonies healthy.
Okay, let's dig into that healthy part. How does removing the reproductive organs actually improve the health of the cat that's already on the street?
It's huge. Think about the metabolic cost of reproduction. For a female street cat, she is either pregnant or nursing almost constantly. That requires an immense amount of calories and calcium.
Just drains her.
It depletes her body, weakens her immune system, and makes her vulnerable to every virus floating around. She's literally pouring her life force into kittens that likely won't survive.
And for the males.
For the males, it's all about testosterone. Intact males fight.
For territory, for mates.
They fight for everything. Those fights lead to abscesses, nasty wounds, and the transmission of FIV.
Feline immunodeficiency virus.
And FLV. By neutering them, you cut the testosterone, they stop fighting, they stop roaming into dangerous traffic to find mates, and they hold their weight better. A neutered colony is a stable, calm colony.
So you're essentially transforming a chaotic hormonal war zone into a stable neighborhood.
That's a great way to put it. You're prioritizing the quality of life for the existing cats over the quantity of new kittens.
Now, for the cats that can't go back, the ones like Lottie who are blind or the ones who are just too vulnerable, LBS has created a physical space.
Yeah.
And I have to say, looking at the description of their sanctuary, I'm a little jealous.
It's not what you picture when you hear animal shelter, is it?
No.
Usually think of cages, concrete floors, loud barking.
No, this is described as a large modern house.
It is a home, and that distinction matters. The architecture is designed for the psychology of the cat. The standout feature for me is the netted balconies.
I loved that detail. It seems so simple, but it changes everything.
It solves the indoor-outdoor dilemma. Cats are hardwired to want to observe their environment. They want to smell the air, watch the birds, feel the sun.
Right.
But in Athens, outside means death. The netted balconies give them that sensory enrichment, the basking in natural sunlight, without the risk of a speeding taxi or a loose dog.
And inside, it's all about cozy houses, cat trees, and space for loafing.
Mm-hmm.
And we joke about loafing, that position where they tuck their paws in and look like a loaf of bread. But a cat only loafs when it feels totally safe, right?
Exactly. You don't loaf in a war zone. If a cat is tucked up, eyes half closed, it means their cortisol levels are down. They aren't in fight or flight mode anymore. That transition from the street cat looking over its shoulder to the sanctuary cat playing with friends, that's the psychological healing that happens.
It's a total system reset for the animal.
Mm.
But a facility like that, a large modern house, medical supplies, food for dozens of cats, that is an operational beast. You need manpower.
You do. And LBS has been very smart, pun intended, about how they source that manpower. They've tapped into the global desire to help. They run a volunteer program where people come from all over the world.
It's like a barter economy.
Basically, volunteers trade their labor cleaning, feeding, socializing the cats, and in return, LBS provides food and accommodation.
Brilliant.
It is, because it keeps overhead low. They don't have to pay a full staff of cleaners, and the volunteers get an affordable way to stay in Greece while doing something meaningful.
But there's a trap there, too. The foster fail.
The occupational hazard of rescue, yeah.
The text mentions that volunteers often fall in love and end up adopting a kitty. It makes sense. You spend weeks nursing a cat back to health, watching it learn to trust. It's hard to just walk away.
It's the ultimate validation of the program, you know. Volunteer comes to work, but the bond they form leads to a permanent home for the animal.
There is another layer to the workforce, though, that is a bit more specialized. They have a program specifically for veterinary students.
This is a critical component. They call it a pause-on experience, which is cute, but the educational value is serious. If you are a vet student in the UK or the US, your clinical rotations are likely in sterile, well-funded hospitals. You're seeing well-fed pets with managed conditions.
You aren't seeing the latte cases.
Exactly. You aren't seeing advanced infectious diseases, severe trauma from car strikes, or the malnutrition issues common in stray populations. The internship at LBS gives these students a crash course in street medicine. They learn to triage, they see pathology they'd only see in textbooks otherwise.
It reminds me of doctors doing rotations in emergency zones. It's high-intensity learning.
It is. And it's symbiotic. The students get invaluable experience that makes them better vets, and the sanctuary gets skilled medical hands to help treat the animals. Everybody wins.
So we have the rescue, the medical triage, the sanctuary, and the workforce. But the end goal is always adoption. You have to move cats out to make room for the next ones. And this is where LBS gets really innovative with technology and, well, tourism.
The adoption strategy is fascinating. Let's start with the digital side. They have a feature on their website called the Cat Picker.
Which sounds a lot like a dating app algorithm.
It essentially is. And that's not trivializing it. It's actually best practice. The goal isn't just to get rid of a cat.
No.
It's to make a match that sticks. The Cat Picker implies they're assessing the personality of the animal. Is this cat shy? Is it bold? Does it hate dogs?
Yeah.
And matching it to the lifestyle of the human.
Because if you give a high-octane street cat to a grandmother who wants a lap warmer, that cat is coming back.
Exactly. And returns are traumatic for the animal and discouraging for the adopter. Using data to help prospective owners find just the right pussycat, as they put it, increases the success rate.
But my favorite part of their strategy is this adoption vacation. This is the part that I think is just genius.
It really is a game changer.
So walk me through this. I'm a tourist. I'm in Athens for the history. I go to the Parthenon, and LBS is saying, hey, while you're here, come pick up a souvenir that breathes.
That is the pitch. Tourists can adopt and bring home their pick of the litter. Think about the logistics of adoption. Usually, international adoption is a nightmare of paperwork and cargo flights.
Right.
But if you are already the passenger, the process becomes so much smoother. You are the courier.
So the cat flies back with you.
Right. LBS likely handles the pet passport, the microchipping, the rabies vaccinations, the fit-to-fly certificates, and the tourist provides the ticket home. It turns the vacation into a rescue mission.
I love this concept because it solves a geographical supply and demand problem. Athens has a surplus of cats. Maybe my hometown in, I don't know, suburban Connecticut has a shortage of adoptable kittens. This bridges that gap.
It's arbitrage. You are moving the asset, the cat, from a place where its value is low because there are too many of them, to a place where it is highly engaged and wanted. And emotionally, for the tourist, it transforms the trip. You aren't just observing the country, you are engaging with its problems and being part of the solution.
Definitely beats a fridge magnet.
It certainly lasts longer.
Now, we focused heavily on cats because, let's be honest, Athens is the city of cats. But the research does make a point to say they aren't exclusive.
That's right. They do specify that LBS takes care of dogs, too. The stray dog problem in Greece is real, and often the conditions for dogs are even harder because they are larger and perceived as more threatening.
Right.
But the sheer volume of cats is just so much higher.
It's a numbers game. There are many, many more cats in need, so that's where the resources naturally flow.
But it's good to know that if a dog is in critical distress, they have the capacity to step in. They aren't turning a blind eye just because it barks instead of meows.
There is one final pillar we need to touch on. And honestly, this might be the most important one if we ever want to actually solve this rather than just manage it. Education.
This is the long game. You can TNR and adopt all day, but if the local culture views animals as vermin or disposable tools, the cycle never ends. LBS is putting significant effort into community outreach, videos, guides, brochures.
Who's the target audience here?
It's broad. They are targeting children, adults, the whole community. The goal is to shift the baseline empathy. They want to teach the importance of animals and how to care for them.
It sounds basic,
Yeah.
but in many places, animal welfare isn't taught.
It isn't. If you grow up seeing cats kicked or ignored, you normalize that. If LBS can get into a classroom and teach a 7-year-old that a cat feels pain, hunger, and fear just like they do, that 7-year-old grows up to be a different kind of pet owner. They become the person who spays their cat. They become the person who stops the car for a stray.
It's preventative medicine for society.
Exactly. Education stops the flow of unfortunate souls at the source. It changes the definition of the animal from a pest to a companion.
So, what does this all mean? We started this conversation talking about the Acropolis and the romantic image of the Greek cat. But I think we've peeled back a pretty thick layer of that onion.
We have. We've seen that the romantic life is actually a 2-year fight for survival against infection and traffic. But we've also seen that there is a sophisticated infrastructure in place to change that. LBS isn't just a shelter. It's a logistics hub connecting medicine, tourism, and education.
It's a model that feels replicable too.
It is the idea of leveraging tourism, using the people who love the beauty of a place to help solve the ugliness behind the scenes. That's a powerful strategy for any destination.
It really changes how I'll look at those travel photos from now on. I won't just see the cute pose. I'll be looking for the ear tip that says they've been neutered. I'll be checking if their eyes are clear.
And that awareness is the first step. Once you know the reality, you can't unknow it. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one bringing a cat home on your next flight.
That's the thought I want to leave everyone with. Yeah. Consider the adoption vacation.
Oh.
We spend so much money and time trying to find the perfect experience or the perfect souvenir when we travel, something to remember the trip by. How might the experience of travel change if the souvenir you brought home wasn't a trinket, but a life? If you walk through customs not with a bottle of wine, but with a creature you saved from the street.
It redefines the purpose of the journey.
It really does. Does integrating tourism into charity work represent the future of nonprofit sustainability? It's a model worth watching. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the real lives of the Athens cats.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next one.
Just like
Take
they
care.
do, that 7-year-old grows up to be a different kind of pet owner. They become the person who spays their cat. They become the person who stops the car for a stray.
It's preventative medicine for society.
Exactly. Education stops the flow of unfortunate souls at the source. It changes the definition of the animal from a pest to a companion.
So, what does this all mean? We started this conversation talking about the Acropolis and the romantic image of the Greek cat. But I think we've peeled back a pretty thick layer of that onion.
We have. We've seen that the romantic life is actually a 2-year fight for survival against infection and traffic. But we've also seen that there is a sophisticated infrastructure in place to change that. LBS isn't just a shelter. It's a logistics hub connecting medicine, tourism, and education.
It's a model that feels replicable too.
It is the idea of leveraging tourism, using the people who love the beauty of a place to help solve the ugliness behind the scenes. That's a powerful strategy for any destination.
It really changes how I'll look at those travel photos from now on. I won't just see the cute pose. I'll be looking for the ear tip that says they've been neutered. I'll be checking if their eyes are clear.
And that awareness is the first step. Once you know the reality, you can't unknow it. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one bringing a cat home on your next flight.
That's the thought I want to leave everyone with. Yeah. Consider the adoption vacation.
Oh.
We spend so much money and time trying to find the perfect experience or the perfect souvenir when we travel, something to remember the trip by. How might the experience of travel change if the souvenir you brought home wasn't a trinket, but a life? If you walk through customs not with a bottle of wine, but with a creature you saved from the street.
It redefines the purpose of the journey.
It really does. Does integrating tourism into charity work represent the future of nonprofit sustainability? It's a model worth watching. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the real lives of the Athens cats.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.